I honestly concur with Umam Gloria Bosman with that. Our artists are definitely top of the range, and who better than Umam Sibongile Khumalo to fly that flag high. I salute you, Mama, and may your soul definitely rest in peace. Now, it doesn't have to be a Blue Monday when you could be enjoying the timeless taste of Clover Classic Custard. Our summer berry Tart Tatins are like a love letter served with Clover Classic Custard as we kick off the month of love on a sweet note. South Africa, the month of love is upon us, and I know a lot of you are thinking of ways and ideas on how to make dishes that basically represent love. Dishes that basically say to your loved ones, I love you, and this is how I show love. Now, this is one dish I definitely think does that. We are making a summer berries tart tatin, and to start it off, I'm going to get the caramelizing of our dishes in here. So I'm going to start off with some butter. What a tart tatin is basically, if I give you a bit of a history lesson, it started off with two sisters, the Tatins sisters, who included this recipe on their menu in a hotel, and basically it blew up, and the next thing you know, it was their signature dish, and after that, in essence, it was named after them because they invented it in essence, and we are now making a tart tatin. Yes, it's a bit of a twist, because normally how you'd make it is that you'd bake it in basically pastry and then caramelize the sugars in there of whatever fruit you'd be using, bake it with some butter and sugar. But in this instance, what we're doing is we're going to make the caramelized sauce, the sauce on the one side, and then we're going to add it onto our puff pastry tart shells that we're going to be making now. And so to do that, all we want to do is I've got some puff pastry that is basically at room temperature. This is basically to make it easier for us to handle it. I'm not going to even take it out of the plastic just so I can manage it easier. So all I'm going to do here is I've got a cookie cutter. All I'm going to do is, I don't even want to roll it out too much because in essence, I want to keep it nice and flaky, because once it goes into our already brushed or greased pan, all we want here is we want those layers to basically show up as we're making these tart tatins. We're going to fill this up with our berries, but before I do that, let me just cover the rest of these muffin trays. So what you've got here is we've got our puff pastry, we've got strawberries, we've got some raspberries, we've got some mint, we've got some flour that we're going to use to thicken up our sauce, and we've also got some butter, sugar, and vanilla essence that went into the sauce here. So all we want is we want this sauce to basically thicken up and get nice and thick. Basically the sugars from the sauce, the sugars from the strawberries and the berries are all just going to mellow together and make an amazing combination inside. And then we just serve this amazing dish with our Clover Classic Custard, which for me is a representation of love all on its own. So into this, I'm putting in our puff pastry. You could use any other pastry of your choice, perhaps phyllo pastry, but I would suggest that in that case, if you're going to be using the berry mixture, try and make it as thick as possible. So thicken it if you want to with cornstarch, perhaps, or make it more like a jammy texture before you use it for phyllo pastry. And you could even use a different kind of fruit, any fruit that's in season at the moment. You could use plums, you could use peaches. Do not use, though, any fruit that has too much water in it. Like, for instance, watermelon wouldn't work because it would have released too much water as it's baking, so you don't want that. We just wanted to, we want the ingredients inside to hold their shape. So watermelon would be too much and basically all runny, and we don't want all of that. So now that you can see, I've put all our puff pastry into there, and I don't know if you want to check here, see how this sauce is nicely caramelized. It looks so beautiful. So we're going to pour this onto our berries. To start it off, I'm going with our strawberries that are going in here. You could use any other berries. We've got blueberries as well. You've got blackberries that you could add. And like I mentioned, if you don't want to use berries, you could use peaches as well. And then into that, I'm going to add some raspberries. If you want to, you could even make this a crumble of sauce, you know, add the apples in there. Just make sure that the sauce is there because we want to be able to caramelize it, because that's basically what the tart tatin is. And then I go in with my sauce. I don't want to pour too much because, like you can see, it's nice and thickened. So all we want is for it to basically cook up those berries when they go into the oven. And as the berries basically soften up and cook, the puff pastry is going to bake up nicely, and all the butter in the puff pastry is basically going to puff up and give us those beautiful layers. This goes into the oven to bake. I would suggest you bake it at 180 degrees. Basically, all you want that nice golden crust on either side, on the inside and on the outside. And then it comes out looking like this, beautiful. The berries are cooked, the flavors are in there. You've got the tartiness of the berries, you've got the sweetness from the sauce that we put in there. And to top it all off, we're gonna put our Clover Classic Custard in there, which is, for me, the cherry on top for this recipe. So all we do now is just pop it in there. And I couldn't think of a better recipe for a month of love. I mean, it is red, which is perfect. And then we've got the flavors, well, berries. Whenever you're in love, you get strawberries and berries and whatever in love. So I think this is love personified. And some mint just to basically dress up our delicious dessert. And that is our dessert South Africa, ready to be enjoyed by you and your loved ones. And if by any chance you want all the recipe details, go to afternoonexpress.co.za for the full ingredients list. But I know some of you might have missed it, so here's a quick recap.
Made with love by Clover.
So, we've had classic fashion from Timby, classic cars, thanks Chad, and we've seen classic hairstyles. And you, Michael? Classic.
A classic range from Clover. Timeless taste.
Made with love by Clover.